So here we go. So number one, football players are overpaid. All right, boys, we'll start off with the answers here. So we got a disagree from Ahmed, an agree from Ali, adjusting it there, and we got a disagree from M. So two disagrees and an agree. Ali, we'll start off with you. Agree, football players are overpaid.
Yeah, I think the amount some of these football players get paid is a bit too much. Some of them are like £200,000-300,000 a week. Like you compare that to like other professions, and I think that's just way too much.
Amanda disagrees. You're happy to give an input whenever you guys want.
I'm happy to jump in on that one. I think at the end of the day, footballers get paid what they deserve. If someone's willing to pay £200,000-300,000 for a football player, then why shouldn't they get it? At the end of the day, their privacy is taken away from them. They become role models when they don't want to be. At the end of the day, if they're willing to pay it, then go for it. That's my opinion anyways.
Yeah, but look what's happening to some of these clubs like Wigan and Bolton who are going into administration. That's because they can't keep up with financial fair play. They pay above their means, so they're paying players like tens of thousands of dollars a week, but not able to sustain it.
But if the football club wants to pay it, they want to chase that dream of the championship, or they want to chase that dream of getting promoted or staying in the league, and they want to pay for that ex-player that's going to get 50 grand from another club. That's up to them.
They're not paying it because they can. They're paying it because they have to compete in this football world, because other big clubs like your Man Cities and your Barcelonas and your Bayern Munichs can go out and spend all this money while other clubs can't compete with them.
Look, we've talked about, I'm going to take the EPL as an example here. EPL is a brand itself, right? So they've got this high standard of teams. So you're sort of buying into play with those top clubs in there. So if you're a Wigan, you're one of these lower clubs who can't afford to buy these players, then you're not really giving the EPL that high class that they want. Ali before said, let's compare it to other professions, but let's compare it to how much money these associations are making, right? So I'm just going to throw it out as an analogy. If the EPL or whoever is making money from it is making $100 billion a year, and you're paying your players who are your what's making your money $5,000 a week, I think on a player's point of view, it's completely unfair. So compared to how much money these associations are making, these players getting paid, I don't think they are overpaid.
I'm not saying they should get paid $5,000 a week. I'm just saying that some of these players who are getting paid hundreds and thousands a week is too much. Like I reckon if all players getting paid between 50 to 100k a week, that okay, fair enough. But 200 to 300, 400 players a week, some of these players are making too much.
But then you look at it, for example, how much money does Ronaldo bring into Juventus? How much money does Messi, from gate revenue to sponsorship to shirt merchandise
to TV rights?
Yeah, but even in the NBA, they have a salary cap. So there's a cap on how much salaries they can pay their players. But these high class teams like Man City can go and spend all hundreds of thousands of dollars on every single player in their squad.
All right, boys. Question 2. Champions League success is bigger or more respected than domestic league title success? So we'll start off. Ahmed agree, Ali agree, and M agree. So we got 3 agrees here. Again, majority opinion here.
I think it also depends on the league that they're managing in. Like I think in England it might not be the case. The domestic success might be like of more importance because it's so much tighter. But in other leagues like the Italian league and your Dutch league and your German league and your French league, winning the league is not going to be as significant as it is winning the Champions League.
But I also think it depends on the club as well. So for example, a club that's never won the Champions League like PSG, and they're winning the league all the time, that they want the Champions League. You know what I mean? But if it's Barca and Real Madrid has only won the league once in 9 years. So, and they've won the Champions League 4 times.
All right, let me throw a spinner at you guys. Say Premier League team, say just an example here. Team A wins the Premier League, Team B wins the Champions League. Who would have had, and these are, let's say Liverpool, Man City. Liverpool won the domestic title and Man City goes to win the Champions League.
Vice versa. Last year, them winning the title hurt me more. It hurt a lot.
But that's because we had gone 30 years without winning it.
That's true.
And that's what I was about to say. For example, if it was vice versa this year, for Man City, they want to win the Champions League more than anything. Like Liverpool's won the Champions League 6 times, and you haven't won the Premier League for 30 years. So I think I said agree, but I think it really does come down to the club and their situation, or the league and their situation.
I haven't given my opinion yet. Look, and it's going to come back to the French league as well. You're on a world stage when you win like a European Championship, right? You're playing the best teams in Europe. If you went off domestic success, then you would think that PSG is the best team in the world. But you stick them into Champions League and they struggle against these top European sides. So
just look at Atletico and how they reacted after knocking Liverpool out of the Champions League. It was like a big deal for them.
Yeah.
Well, that's because Liverpool are the reigning champions. But if Man City are one of the most dominant teams in the Premier League over the last number of years, I don't think other teams see him as a bigger threat in European football and world football.
Mm-hmm. I agreed. And sorry, I lost my train of thought there.
Nah, it's all good. Look, I'll just move on to question 3 actually. Manchester United's 1999 to 2000 treble winning squad is the greatest Premier League team of all time. Alright boys, let's have a look at your results here. Ahmed disagree.
Yep.
Strongly disagree from Ali.
He's shouting
and
it there.
Disagree from Emin. We'll start with Ali on this one. Strongly disagree with Manchester United, the 99 to 2000, the treble winning squad being the greatest Premier League team of all time.
I think as it stands right now, 2 years ago's Centurions Man City team is the greatest Premier League team, because at the end of the day, they got the most points any team's ever gotten in a Premier League season. So for me, it's them right now, but Liverpool have a chance in the next 6 games to overtake that.
I agree with that. I think even though it was a great achievement to win the treble, I think that there has been other squads, and I think Liverpool's squad currently, if they continue to do what they do and build on what they did this year and last year, they'll go ahead of Manchester United squad.
Yeah, look, you can't take those points away as well. It's different time, so yeah, I disagree.
Do you guys think that with the Champions League victory that they had, and considering what they won and how they won it, could push them definitely up to top spot? Or do you reckon that it was more of a fluke, or they just managed to just get to that just the way that Sir Alex Ferguson managed to put that team together?
I think the reason why they're even in the conversation is because they won the Champions League.
Yeah.
And they won it in the last minute, and I'm not saying it's a fluke, because Manchester United and Sir Alex always find a way to win. But I just think that's the only reason why they're in the conversation in the first place. I don't think that squad or what they did in the Premier League in particular was that great.
Okay.
They finished the season on 79 points. Look at that. Compare that to what City and Liverpool have done in the last couple of years. It's like...
That's what I'm saying. It's a different time.
Yeah.
There's a different caliber of teams you're versing.
Well, interesting points there, boys. We'll move on to question 4 here. Thierry Henry is the greatest striker in English Premier League history. All right, boys. We've got the results in. What do we have? Disagree from Ahmed, agree from Ali, and disagree from M. So 2 disagrees and an agree. Ali, you are alone again. Let's start off with you.
For me, Henry is the greatest striker to play in the Premier League. You just have to look at what his rivals say about him. Like, I think no defender ever wanted to come up against him. I know people are probably going to argue maybe Aguero, Shearer, Rooney, but Thierry had the whole package, and for me, he's the greatest.
M?
I don't think he's the greatest. He there's no doubt that he was great, but as Ali said, there's a lot of great players out there, and I don't think that you can straight up say that he's the greatest.
Ahmed?
I think it's Alan Shearer. For longevity, one thing, and he scored 283 goals. And you got to look at the teams that he played for. He played for Southampton, Blackburn, and Newcastle. Yeah, at the end of the day, if you're looking at purely in their prime, a one-off game, I'd say Henry. But over the Premier League history, has to be Alan Shearer.
You're saying Blackburn were Blackburn of
Now.
Today.
Today, but back then Blackburn were one of the bigger teams in the league.
Yeah, but they weren't as big as Arsenal were when they were fighting for the title.
And who made that Arsenal squad the Arsenal squad they were? It was it was players like Henry.
Yeah, but you look at who Henry had next to him. He had Bergkamp, he had Patrick Vieira. You look at Blackburn, they had Tim Sherwood.
Tim Sherwood was their captain.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like they had Tim Sherwood compared to Patrick Vieira and Bergkamp and all these players.
Nah, for me, Henry is a freak.
All right, boys, we'll move on to question 5 here. VAR should be removed from football.
In the current state,
In the current state it is. All right, boys, let's have a look at it again. Ahmed agree.
Yep.
Ali disagree, and M disagree here. Ahmed, you're alone on this one.
yeah, I think
Agree.
I think in the current format that's in, it needs to be scrapped unless they make some tweaks, like to go back like they did at the World Cup, for example, where the referee, on-field referee, makes a decision by looking at the camera himself. But if it's going to stay the way it is, I reckon scrap it. There's no point. It was brought in to get rid of the howlers. How many howlers have we seen?
Well,
Just from the restart alone, Villa and Sheffield against Sheffield, and the one last night.
Sheffield again.
Yeah, Sheffield and Tottenham.
but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to scrap it. You just got to tweak it. Like, you just look at Chelsea in the Man City game the other week and the handball by Fernandinho. No one picked that up except for Abraham. And then he goes upstairs and it's the most blatant handball you ever see. So that's why VAR is in there for howlers like that, which if it wasn't for that, Liverpool might not still be champions right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Ali. Look, it makes mistakes, but I think it's the people around VAR that needs to be, I don't know, up-trained or made more consistent, because it does pick up on things. We stick on those obvious things like the Sheffield game and stuff like that because it sticks out so much in the game. But if we get, as we've talked about earlier tonight, more professional referees maybe that are sitting in the VAR box, maybe I don't know, using it when we need to, like in that Sheffield goal. I don't see any reason why we need to get rid of it.
I'll give my little opinion on that. I think it should remain, but it definitely needs a tweak. I've always lent towards an A-League type of VAR where the referee makes the decision himself rather than someone being in his ear or anything like that. I think the pride aspect of I need to check it is something referees need to establish into their role at the moment. Unfortunately, with VAR, with technology, the refs are just leaning towards someone else will deal with it.
Because they don't want to go check it and go, oh shit, I was wrong.
Correct.
I have to change my decision.
That's right. So in the example, I think the best example was Australia-France. When that penalty for Griezmann happened, the ref said, you know what? He said play on, but someone went in his ear. But at that moment, even the ref, you can see in his stature where he didn't know what to do. And he just sort of went, okay, I'm just going to go lean towards someone in my ear. And he made the decision by going and having a look by himself.
But that's what I'm saying. You said in the current form, if it stays the way it is, scrap it. But if it's going to change to the referee making the decision like they did in the World Cup, I'm all for it.
Even from a scrap point of view, we've also got to look at it like this. How many negatives are there to the positives? Do you know what I mean? How many times where we actually looked at something and said, you know what, unfortunately, it is right. Do you know what I mean? Where I understand the heel aspect of it and, my pinky's off or, my hair accidentally fell out in this offside.
But I think if the referees knew that they had to make the decision themselves and not let play on and rely on someone else making the decision, I feel like we'll have less of these howlers than we are having right now.
Interesting points there. All right, boys, moving on to question 6. Now, this one I think is going to probably take a while. Cristiano Ronaldo's national trophies makes him a more successful player than Lionel Messi.
Do you have more space on the board?
All right, boys, let's have a look now. I'm expecting controversy. Keep in mind that we can't have this podcast going for 4 hours. So, Ahmed, agree.
Definitely.
And Ali, strongly disagree. And Emin, strongly agree. So we got 3 different answers here. You're all minorities. But we'll start off with the disagree here. Ali.
So which international trophies are we talking about? Are we talking about the one in the Euros where they finished 3rd in the group and then Ronaldo got injured in the final and Portugal won the game without him, and that's why we're saying that he's better than Messi?
Who got him to the final?
Who got him to 3rd place in the group stage?
But who got him to the final? That's the format.
The format. So
That's
the format. So you're telling me? Wait. So you're telling me, World Cup final, Argentina versus Germany.
Yep.
Higuain or Palacio finished a 1-1 against Neuer. Argentina win, therefore Messi is better than Ronaldo.
Okay, so who scored more goals in the World Cup?
No, but the question was about trophies won and therefore being better.
Okay, so if you're going to look at it like that, for example, they finished third in the group and they shouldn't get it. Okay, well, how about when they made the final and Greece out of nowhere won it? No, they didn't deserve to win it. Do you give them the trophy then? He would have had one then.
But that's what I'm saying.
What's the difference?
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying you don't judge a player on who's better based on a team trophy.
Well, the reason why I said agree is because I think it's one of the reasons. I think there's more factors into it than just the European trophy. But I think the fact that Messi, who plays in an easier competition, the Copa America, and still hasn't won a South American title, and Ronaldo has, I think that's one of the reasons. And that's the reason why I didn't say strongly agree. I said agree.
Yeah.
There's some controversy. I said strongly agree. Not because it's the trophy itself, but it comes back to what I said earlier. Ronaldo in that Portuguese team isn't playing with like a Barcelona squad out there, right? Nor is Messi. But Ronaldo, even when he was injured, stepped up as a coach to try and get his team
100%.
there. He steps up when it, like, Messi disappears in his national team.
So Messi made Higuain miss that chance in the 1-1.
So what about
But
Messi?
he's got Higuain. Look at the strikers he's playing.
He
with.
missed it.
And
Ronaldo had Edu. No one's even heard of him before.
that's what I mean. Like, Ronaldo, he steps up when he doesn't have the class around him. And this is why he's having a big sook at Barcelona right now with the management and stuff like that. I personally believe that he's not happy with the players he's playing with. So when you compare how well they play in their national teams, man, Ronaldo, you can, like I said, you can put him into any competition on any team and he steps up. He stepped up when he was at Man United. He stepped up when he was at Real Madrid. He stepped up when he's at Juventus. Whereas Messi's great. I'm not taking anything away from him, man. He's best player in the world, you know. But he's only ever played at Barcelona, and his success is only at Barcelona.
And that's the thing. Ali was talking about, okay, well, what about Higuain missing the chances in the World Cup? What did Messi do in the Copa America? He missed penalties in the Copa America final.
Didn't Messi carry Argentina to the World Cup final?
I don't think he carried them.
He didn't carry him.
No, I don't think
Ronaldo carried Portugal to the Euros, but Messi didn't carry Argentina, banging in free kicks against Iran last minute, but he didn't carry him.
Okay, so he scores a free kick against Iran. Who else did they play in the World Cup? Who else did he score against in the World Cup?
What did Ronaldo do in the Euros?
Ronaldo carried them, bro.
How
How many goals? I don't know.
They finished third in the group stage, and then they play. Who they play in the first round of knockouts? Well, you have Italy playing England when they both finished like first and second. Portugal get the easiest run to the final. Ronaldo gets injured.
But that's not his fault. But is that something that he can control? All he can do is play the teams that get in front of him, and he carried them. And like Emin said, when he did come off injured, he was the first one. He was more than the coach there, pushing the team forward.
I'm sure he was whispering in Eda's ear, going, "Finish that goal."
Unfortunately, boys, I have to wrap this up. I know it is controversial. I think this is the
That
only
was fun.
question that I can leave for strongly agree, disagree, and you guys will probably do the same amount as the 10 questions. Look, I won't give an opinion on this because I'm pretty sure it'll last for 3 hours. Moving on to question 7 here, boys. Look, again, it could be another controversial one here. Barcelona's 2014 and 2015 team is the greatest of all time. Now, this is the team that had Neymar, Suarez, and Messi up front and won the treble. All right, boys. Looking at all your screens here, all disagree. Whoever wants to start their input, go for gold here.
I think it's hard to label one team the greatest of all time because there's been so many different great teams over. Football's been around for over 100 years, and you can't narrow it down to the one team. Like that front three was one of the best you've ever seen, MSN. But I think overall, as a team-wise, I don't think they're the best.
I simply agree with Ali. At the end of the day, I think what they did was amazing. They had amazing players, but at the end of the day, yeah, you look at some of the teams of the past, like even you mentioned Manchester United. You look at AC Milan. You look at the Liverpool squads back in the the late 80s. You can't really just say one team. I don't think there will ever be that one team that was just the greatest of all time.
Yeah, well said. And taking nothing away from La Liga, winning the La Liga is like a 2-team race, and it has been for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
So to win a treble when you're in La Liga, I don't think it qualifies you to be named the best team of all time.
Interesting point, boys. Let's move on to number 8 here. Mourinho has a better CV than Guardiola. The results are in, boys. We have an agree from Ahmed, a strongly disagree from Ali, and an agree from M. Ali, starting off with you.
Are we like just am I up against like Madrid fanboys here? Or I don't know. Like, I'm sorry. Like, what's Guardiola's worst ever finish in a league?
I think it's fourth
Yeah.
for Man City.
Compare that to Mourinho, who like finished mid-table a couple times.
What's Guardiola's lowest freaking transfer budget?
Still, like if you give them both a team, go this is your team. I think Guardiola will leave that team in a better place than when he leaves than Mourinho does.
I think Guardiola needs better players. At the end of the day, you look at what he did with Porto. You look at what he did with Inter. He had Bayern Munich and he couldn't do anything in the Champions League. He's got Man City and they still haven't done anything in the Champions League. The only team that he had was Barcelona, that he's won in the Champions League, and that Barcelona squad, as we were just talking about it.
You could have put me there.
Yeah, I always used to say this. Okay, you put a duck in a suit and they would have done the same job. They still would have won the La Liga and would have won the Champions League. That team was just unbelievable.
And how did Mourinho leave those clubs?
Well, with Man United, he was booted out by the players pretty much. But was he doing a bad job there? No.
Yes.
You think so?
Mm.
They haven't reached that position since he's left.
Because what he does to the team. When Van Gaal was there and when Gaal left, they weren't like struggling to finish in top 4. He left Chelsea. They were fighting. They were in relegation. There was like a remember on Facebook? There was like a Chelsea relegation party like scheduled, and then you have
The second time it took over, yeah.
yeah this Chelsea. You had what's Inter done after it? Like when he leaves, he comes to a club. He spends the first year rebuilding. Then in the second year, he does well in the and then after that, he just starts destroying the club from within. So if you want to judge him on the second year, him doing well, other than the whole performance and how he leaves the club. For me, Guardiola left Bayern Munich, they've still dominated after he left. Guardiola left Barcelona, they still dominated while
But
he
those
left.
teams, my sister could leave and they'd still be dominating.
Because he built them that way.
No, but
he
then
built these teams to dominate.
They were like that before he
No,
came
no,
too.
Not Man City weren't this dominant before.
And Bayern Munich was. And the thing is, these clubs,
Well,
Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and Man City, or pretty much Bayern Munich and Man City, are rolled with money compared to the other teams in that league. Like Bayern Munich, anyone could coach Bayern Munich to win the league.
Jurgen Klopp won the title 2 years in a row with Borussia Dortmund before Guardiola arrived at Bayern Munich. Just stating that out there.
Okay.
With his scenario at Inter, I think that was his most successful. I think Jose Mourinho, because it was the one team that he went to. And again, I'm not giving it an answer, but I'm just comparing the Inter scenario here. The Inter scenario was the only time that he went to Inter and said, I'm going to win the Champions League, and he left. There was no, when he came to Chelsea, I think it was the beginning of the 4th year of his first tenure, we lost to Rosenborg in the Champions League.
Yeah, everything
3-0, dominated, absolutely dominated against us, and then he got sacked. In the second season, it was... in the second time he came to Chelsea, I think we were 16th or something like that at one stage. It also falls down half and half. Is it really destroying the club like you said, Ali, or is it just the whole player revolt situation that's happening?
But that's what I think, that Guardiola is smarter than Pep. Guardiola's smarter than Mourinho. Because Guardiola stays 3 years, 4 years, and leaves before everything turns to shit. Before the players get sick of him, before the players get burnt out,
Mate.
he just moves on.
So Alex Ferguson was at Man United for 20 years. They never got sick of him.
But so Alex
Jurgen Klopp spent 7 years at Dortmund. They didn't get sick of him. So if you're getting players getting sick of you after 3 years, then there's something wrong with your.
So why hasn't Guardiola stayed at one club and built a legacy?
Maybe he wants a different challenge. He's not like it's not like the owners are sacking him. He's leaving on his own accord.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
If he wants a challenge, you should go to West Ham.
come to Villa.
Or go to Villa.
Look, I love Mourinho for what he's done for Chelsea. I won't give a biased opinion here. I do agree that both of these gentlemen, I should say, is probably up there in the top 5, top 6 best manager, or probably top 10 best managers of all time.
Behind Klopp. No bias. No bias.
No bias.
He's probably got one of the best man management skills possible, but from a trophy perspective, from a success perspective, these two are up there as probably the greatest. You mentioned Sir Alex Ferguson. I think Sir Alex is the exception in this scenario because he never allowed what Pep and Mourinho allow, which was like example was who was it? Beckham and his haircut.
Yeah.
Made him shave it before the game.
Yeah.
You name me a manager that's going to do that now. It'll be on social media. There'll be a player revolt. You'll be sacked in 2 seconds after
But
that.
I think the difference is the culture that's around football. Because back then the manager could run a tight ship like that.
Yeah.
These days
Everyone's got rights.
And that's
Yeah.
that's not just football. That's just life in general.
Yeah, that's society, and you get players who are 16, 17 in the squad that are earning more than any of us can dream
They're
of.
bigger than the club.
And they think they're bigger than the club, and they who's going to yell at them?
No, 100% agree. Let's move on, boys, to question 9. De Bruyne is the 3rd best player in the world.
Why the third?
Because we know who the best two are.
All right, boys, let's have a look. Ahmed strongly agree, and 2 agrees from Ali and Ems. I'll start with you, Ahmed, on this one.
I just can't think of a better player in form right now than him. Those passes that he does from the wing where it's a low cross / pass that's on the 6-yard line for Jesus or Aguero to tap in. There's no one in the Premier League and in the world that's better than him. I know people might think Mbappe, but I don't think he's...
Or Neymar.
Not Neymar. I wouldn't put Neymar up there. But I think Mbappe still got a way to go to be that level. I think De Bruyne can walk into any team in the world right now.
Yeah, this is one of the questions where I'd probably choose a sitting on the fence answer. For me, Mbappe and Kevin De Bruyne are like up there with Ronaldo, like not with Ronaldo,
Not on
but
that level, but up there.
after him. I think by the time Messi and Ronaldo depart us, Mbappe will be the best in the world. But I think right now, over like career-wise, Kevin De Bruyne is up there, ahead of him.
Yeah, it wasn't easy for me to answer this one too, but I've gone with agree. Partly because of what Ahmed said. Man, he drops a ball with like pinpoint accuracy exactly where he wants it. But not only that, he runs a midfield. Like the midfield is completely controlled by De Bruyne. The players look to him to make everything. You look at Man City, all the plays come through him. Where I don't disagree with Mbappe being a great player, I see him more of creating for himself, whereas De Bruyne is a lot more selfless and he works for the team.
Well, Mbappe definitely has one thing going for him, which is the World Cup. He's already won that at a young age, so he's got that national trophy voodoo on him already lifted, so anything is all uphill for him at the moment. Last question, boys. The Liverpool versus Manchester United is the biggest derby in England. All right, boys, let's have a look at the answers. Ahmed, you've gone agree. Ali, strongly agree. And M, agree. So all agree, but we've got a strongly agree now from the Liverpool man himself.
I don't think any derby comes close to it in England. I think Tottenham and Arsenal like to think that theirs is the best, maybe even Man City, United, or Liverpool, Everton. But for me, ever since I was a kid, it was the Liverpool United game that won. That's the 2 games every year I wanted to win without like I'd pick them 2 over any other game.
Ahmed.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I think with Man United and Liverpool, I think just the rivalry for the trophies, the number of trophies, for the Champions League, everything just sort of brings it all in together. Scousers can't stand.
Yeah, it's not just just a football rivalry. It's like a city rivalry, and like Liverpool Scousers and Mancunians just don't like each other.
That's what I was about to say. I think at the end of the day, I think it's just deeper than that. I think it's just a rivalry that sort of doesn't really compare anywhere else in England.
I've got to agree. The only reason I haven't gone strongly agree is because at the moment Man United's not really pulling like they used to. So yeah, agreed.
I'll throw a bit of a spinner in the works for you. Real Madrid Barca or Liverpool Man United? You don't have to write this down, just straight up.
I reckon Real Madrid Barca, the Clasico, is bigger than Man United Liverpool.
Yeah, I think the Clasico, like around the world, is like it stops the whole world and everyone watches that game.
Agreed. Like people who don't even watch football support Real Madrid or Barcelona, so it's a bigger game in my opinion.
I'll probably agree with you guys. Damn, I was trying to get a bit of a spinner in the works there. But look, again, we all saw it when it was Messi and Ronaldo. how the world stopped when that first year and the 5-0 victory that Barcelona had in that game. But that is it for Agree and Disagree, the football edition. So thank you, gents, for participating.
Yeah, and a huge thank you to Ahmad Fouda and Ali Farhat for joining us today on Offside Talk. Definitely added some colour into the episode and to the podcast. Thank you to Fatih, as always, being my co-host on the show. Guys, as always, if you guys could subscribe to us on YouTube, it helps out a lot. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. Any support at the moment for a growing page like ours is very much appreciated. Once again, thank you very much, Ahmad, for joining us.
Anytime.
And thank you very much, Ali.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, guys, stay offside.
Thank you very much for listening and watching.